You're listening to Mind Over Me, the mental wellness podcast with me, Scott Carter. I am a licensed therapist. Here at Mind Over Me, I offer an unconventional approach to therapy and mental health in general. The therapy system is misguided and broken. So many people are turning to mental health professionals for help, and they're just not finding it. It's my goal to bring some unconventional means, unconventional views, and maybe some unconventional techniques to helping people find mental wellness. Instead of being dependent on a system or a medication or a professional for mental wellness or mental stability, my goal is to always empower and help people by teaching them how to help themselves. This podcast is about self-efficacy, self-determination, and self-empowerment. Every person needs to find a better connection with themselves. Whether you realize it or not, you are the answer to your problems. You just need better information, and I hope to give it to you. So, thank you for being here. Let's dive in. And we are back. Greetings, seekers. Welcome. Thanks for being here. This is the next installment of Mind Over Me. Hope y'all are doing good out there. Time continues to fly by. I'm feeling pretty good today, and here's why. It's rainy, and it's cold, and I like it that way. I've talked before how I get seasonal depression in the summer. I know it's backwards. I know it's weird. I can't really explain it. When I'm in like the heat of the summer, because to me, it's like I live in the beautiful state of Utah, where the summers are hot. There's a lot of sun. We'll go weeks without rain. The summers here are very dry. We live in the desert, really. But the summers are hot. There's a lot of sunshine. The days are long, and work slows down for me. And I just get seasonal depression this summer. Truth be told, I have a hard time feeling connected in the summer. I have a hard time just having a sense of connection or connectiveness is very important to me. I've found that the more connected that I feel to other people or doing things in life or music or creativity, the more I feel connected in life, just the happier I am. Connectivity is just such an important part of our mental health. Something that you're not going to hear most mental health clinicians, mental health professionals talk about, but it's true. When you feel, the more connected you feel, whether it's to, pets or nature or just having a connected experience, a quality experience with your life, you're just going to feel better. You're going to feel happier. And for reasons I don't understand and I absolutely cannot explain, I just feel completely disconnected in the summer. Finding connection, just finding that, that introspection and that connection this summer is so hard for me. So when the weather gets cold and the days get dark, and today it's cold, it's cloudy, it's rainy, and it's cozy. My home is cozy. I love, love, love coziness. Coziness is one of my favorite feelings. And as a result, I feel more connected. I just feel better. It just feels better. I make my home nice and cozy, and we have warm blankets and warm heaters and soft light in here. It just feels so good to me. So that's my story today. So I'm in the mood to record some podcasts. An hour or so ago, I just finished recording the previous episode, which is the episode about sadness. That was an episode, frankly, that I loved. I loved recording it. It's a topic that I love and I think is an important one. This topic, a little bit more complex and very important as well. In this episode, I'm going to talk specifically about why you need to face your pain, facing your pain, what that means, why you need to do it, why it's important. Everything here has to do with being mentally healthy, having good mental health. The basic premise of my podcast is that, frankly, the whole mental health system is broken, and it's not helpful. If you want help, don't turn to conventional therapy. Find someone like me who has absolutely gone rogue. There are always people who get upset with me, who are angry with me because I'm not bowing the knee, bending the knee, and swearing my fealty to a broken mental health system that does not help people get results. I still, it baffles me to see people so intensely loyal to a mental health system that just does not get you results. And it's like, well, do you want results or not? Because if you do therapy and mental health the conventional way, you're just not going to get results. If you're fine with not getting results, which frankly, I think some people are, perfectly fine with not getting results. I think people are perfectly fine with all the jibber jabber, all the useless fluff, all the things that make it look like, oh, we're just doing so many good things. And people are not well. And they're not getting better. There is so much bad information out there about mental health, being mentally healthy, how to find good mental health. My goal of being here on this podcast is to give you the right information, is to help clear the misconceptions up. I've seen a lot of people online share the sentiment that therapists are just in it for the money, and they're not going to help you get better because then they lose a customer. Frankly, there may be a shred of truth to that. It's not an overt thing. You're not going to hear mental health professionals talk about this overtly or openly. Frankly, a lot of them are just going along with what they've been told to do and what everybody else is doing. They're just doing what they believe is right. And frankly, they're afraid to branch out. They're afraid to challenge it. They're afraid to deviate, right, from what is normal or what is considered to be the right thing to do. Again, even though it is not frickin' working. So my goal here is to provide you with the correct information. I will tell you I swear, I will tell you everything that you need to know right here, bit by bit, piece by piece, on how to have good mental health. All I ask is that you listen and subscribe, share it, help me grow my audience. I just want to get I really do. I want to get the right information out there. I actually believe it's good business. I think it is good business to just give people the right information and help them get results. And there's a lot of information out there that is widely accepted. People buy into it. There's a lot of stuff that people just buy into. It's widely accepted, and they just buy into it. And frankly, it's just wrong. There's just a lot of bad information out there. So how do we know? Here's sort of the point that I'm getting to. So how do you know who has the good information, who's giving the bad information, who is doing it right, who's doing it wrong? Because it's like you're going to get one person that says, hey, do it this way, and another person saying, hey, do it that way. You simply know, okay, it's easy. You look at their life. How's their life doing? Is it a mess? Is their life in shambles? How happy is that person? Happiness, very misunderstood concept. I've kind of touched on this in the past. Happiness is a very misunderstood concept. But if you see someone and they seem genuinely content, satisfied, happy in their life, you're going to want to take advice from that person. If that person seems to have a deep sense of connection, they're surrounded by people that they love, they're surrounded by positive experiences that they love, they're just happy, they're content, you're going to want to take advice from that person. The people who are most aggressive about doling out life advice and telling you how to do things, I have found are generally not in a good place. The people who are the most aggressive about like just insisting that you have to do things a certain way, you have to live in a certain way, you have to make certain decisions. And they're very, very mean, even, or rude, or aggressive, or even condescending, demeaning even about it. Those are the last ones you ought to listen to. That's proof to me, like when you have to try and make people live a certain way, that's just proof that you're just not happy with yourself. And but back again to this point that I'm currently trying to make. If you want results, if you truly want to be mentally healthy, you're going to have to deviate. You're going to have to go off the beaten path, away from mainstream, what's widely accepted in the mental health field. Just ignore it. I realize some people are going to react strongly to that. Go prove me wrong. Go find a regular therapist who's cracking up opening the DSM and recommending that you take SSRIs and tell me how that makes you feel, and hyper focuses or perseverates on the problem rather than help you generate solutions, tools, and skills on how to solve the problem, go do that. Go plug yourself in to the mental health system, and then in 6 months, don't be surprised when you've wasted a ton of money, you've been spinning your wheels, and nothing has changed. And so while it might not be openly said or stated overtly, right, or directly that you need to avoid anything that feels bad, do everything that feels good, that's just sort of how things are going. I see therapists that do this where it's like they endorse this idea that you're not supposed to feel bad, you're not supposed to feel sad. Those things are wrong. Those things are a pathology. You need to get rid of them. Like that. I'm sorry, not sorry. That's just false. It's false. It's wrong. It's completely wrong. We are constantly bombarded these days with messages of like, you just need to feel comfortable and safe, and you need to feel pleasure and do what's easy all the time. That's the way to a good life. And that's false. It is just flagrantly wrong. It's just flagrantly false. I love the quote that the road to heaven feels like hell, and the road to hell feels like heaven. Kind of a bigger picture here. I'm not necessarily going to break down why that's true in this podcast, but I will in other episodes to come down the road. I'm going to be talking about this thing. It sounds really boring and lame and abstract and for a whole bunch of goody two-shoes or whatever the misconception might be. And that thing is called virtue. Let me put it in these terms. Substance, human substance, the things that give you substance as a human being, right? Do you have strength? Do you have courage? Are you a wise person? Are you resilient? Do you bounce back? Do you adapt? Do you overcome? Do you get things finished because you're disciplined? Do you accomplish a lot because you're disciplined? And of course, are you happy? Do you feel happy? Happiness is a virtue. So, all of this concept here about virtue, it's kind of a bigger picture for me. At the risk of sounding arrogant, I feel like I decoded the human experience. I think I figured it out. I spent a lot of time pulling this stuff apart, y'all. I spent a lot of time on it. Certain plant medicines have also been very helpful to me in this regard. We'll keep it vague. We're going to keep it at that. But yeah, I think I figured it out. I think I broke the code. And I actually want to write a book on it. Yeah, I want to write a book on all of that. It's something that I really, really want to do. I need to build my discipline first. I need to just be more disciplined. That's something that I'm just not very good at and have not been good at. And I'm kind of deviating a little bit here, but the point that I'm getting at is that if you always do what's comfortable, safe, and easy, you're not going to find or build virtue. You're not going to have substance as a human being. Your life is mostly going to be hollow. Pleasure has no real substance to it, just a short dopamine hit, for example. Doing what's easy. It feels comfortable and it's safe, but your comfort zones will ruin you. It will destroy your life before you even begin your life if you just stay in your comfort zones. And we're bombarded with these messages of safe and be safe and safety, safetiness and safeness. And, oh, but that's not safe. I feel unsafe. Safety, safety, safety. I'm sorry, not sorry, but a life of nothing but safety as a priority is a life that has not been lived. And to me, if you always stay in your comfort zones and you always do what's safe and you always do what's easy and comfortable and all of that and pleasurable, you're just going to waste your life. It's going to be a waste. It's going to be hollow and empty. And you have to face your fears if you really want to live. Like if you want to feel connected, if you want to have good mental health, if you want to experience happiness. I mean, you're going to die no matter what. And I would rather die young knowing that I had fully lived and loved and lived and felt connected and had a quality experience than just stay in my little cocoon of safety and comfort. Seriously, nobody lies on their deathbed and thinks to themselves, wow, I wish I'd stayed in my comfort zone some more. No, when people die, excuse me, when people die, they lay on their deathbed, they say, I wish I had lived more. I wish I had done more to live. Again, you're going to die anyways. Make it count. For fuck's sake, make it count. So it's important to face your fears. It's also important to face your pain, okay? So the pain is the path, okay? The obstacle is the way. The fear is the path. The pain is the path. That is your task. That is your way. That is what we call the path. When you walk the path, you find identity, you find love, you find happiness. You truly live. You're a person of substance. You're a good person. You're going to end up being a good person with substance. And people, especially these days, man, people are like, I don't want to face my pain. It's hard. Yes, you must do hard things. So one of my sign-offs, my indecided sign-offs is you must do hard things. There's a reason why I say that. Okay? So what you have to understand is that if you're not mentally well, if you're extremely depressed and you're extremely anxious and you stay in your comfort zones because that's what feels safe and easy, your depression and your anxiety is only going to get worse. Okay. Someone asked me a question online a few weeks ago. It was a brilliant question. He said, I'm a young man. I don't know who I am. I don't have direction. I don't have purpose. How do I completely transform my life? And there's a lot of things that can be said to answer that question. But the number one thing is what I told him is go do hard things. Force yourself outside of your comfort zone. The further you get outside of your comfort zone, the more uncomfortable that you make yourself, the more you're going to grow and the faster you're going to grow. This is how you accelerate your growth, by getting outside of your comfort zones, becoming uncomfortable. And again, while it feels like the key to having good mental health is avoid painful things, that is not true. That is completely false. It's one of the reasons why society is falling apart. Because people erroneously think, they've gotten this bullshit in their heads, this nonsense that a good life, good mental health is avoiding anything uncomfortable. So we have safe spaces and trigger warnings, because if it's uncomfortable, by God, stay away from it. At no matter what the cost, just stay the hell away from it. If that's how you choose to live, that's your prerogative. But you're going to die full of sadness, misery, and regret. That's just the truth. One of the keys to getting good mental health is to face your pain. So this is one thing that I have said often to clients, and I actually had one young man say to me recently, what does that even mean? What does it mean to face your pain? And how do you go about doing it? Because it's like, he's like, I hear you saying this. I don't know what you actually mean. My response was, I'm so glad you asked. So that's the topic of this episode. How to face your pain and facing your pain. Okay, let's dive in. Probably the best place to start would be to talk about why people avoid pain. Why do we avoid pain in general? Well, the answer initially is quite obvious, right? Because it hurts. Right? Like, ow, that hurts. I don't like it. It's an uncomfortable, bad experience. But avoidance, as we know, as I've learned, avoiding pain, avoiding issues, avoiding problems is one of the worst things that you can do. Avoiding looking at yourself, avoiding looking at your life, avoiding the introspective part of things, frankly, is one of the worst things that you can do. Like, if you want bad mental health, like if I probably should make a short list of things that are guaranteed to give you bad mental health. And avoidance would be one of the top ones up there, probably top 3. Problems, issues, and pain don't just go away. They don't. The longer you avoid them, the worse they tend to get. The bigger the problem tends to get. And the harder it is going to be to resolve or address later. People might get caught into thinking that they can run away from it forever, and it always catches up to you. And in such cases, people often find themselves going to pretty extreme lengths to keep it under wraps, to keep it numb. And they might find themselves doing some pretty extreme things up to the point where they can harm their relationships, destroy relationships, act extremely selfishly, and just end up just generally miserable. So one reason that you want to face your pain is because in life you have a choice to make. You either, right, you can choose to face your pain and avoid misery, because if you face your pain, then you get to skip the miserable part. The more pain you face, the less misery you're going to find later in your life. Or you can avoid pain, you can numb the pain, you can run from it all you want, but the more you do that, the more you're guaranteed to be miserable. And I've worked to make this point over and over and over again about pain and misery. To me, misery is way worse. Misery is hell. To me, it really is. It's the definition of hell. If you don't face your pain, frankly, you're going to wind up in hell if you have not already. Misery will come to define you. It will come to define every aspect of your life, every trait of your life, contaminate and destroy every positive thing in your life. It will suck out all your joy. It will destroy all the joy around you. And you'll just become an emotional burden on pretty much everybody around you, everybody in your life, everybody that you know, everybody that knows you. And I've seen and heard examples of this as a mental health professional, of people who have avoided their pain for so long, they've just become so miserable and they're so entrenched in it. They see it as too late to change, too late to do anything different. The more and more miserable they become, and those people tend to die alone. I hear, man, I've heard stories, even online, of like hospice nurses. Yeah, that's the word. Hospice nurses who tell stories of like these elderly people who are like in a bed, they're dying alone, and they're saying like, oh, can you please call my kids and let them know that I'm dying? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. That's what you do when you're in hospice. And they'll call the kids, family members, and they'll be like, no, they screwed the pooch. They screwed the pooch so hard a long time ago. And no, I'm not falling for this again. I'm not going to let them pull me into their pit of hell ever again. They can die alone. I mean, I don't know about you. I do not want to die that way. I don't want to die in such a way that people are like, oh, thank God he is gone. Finally, he's dead. Like, that sounds awful. But when you're miserable, when you're a miserable human being, that can easily happen to you. So this is one of the main reasons we want to face our pain. Because I know when I say this phrase, face your pain, I know that there's just so many people out there that are like, why on earth would I want to do such a thing? Well, for starters, it's better than the alternative. I know it may not seem like it, but trust me, it is. Because people, like, here's a point of fact, right? Like, people tend to look at the right now. What feels good right now versus what's good for me or what's going to help me later, or like, what decisions can I make today so that future me will say thank you? And a lot of things fall into that category, right? You can make decisions today about managing your money better, or like eating better, or exercising, or doing yoga. And a lot of those things are uncomfortable and they hurt even, right? Exercise can be painful. Lifting weights can be painful. Running, not a runner, never have been. They can hurt. It can be painful, but later on, it's like, I feel better because I did that thing. One of the best examples for me is yoga. As a therapist, you do a lot of sitting. Yoga's been one of those things that like has really helped keep my body loose and, reduce the pain, reduce my back pain, for example, joint pain. And frankly, I hate yoga. It hurts. It's hard, but then I feel better. Like, to me, that's one of the best examples that I can give you. And facing your emotional pain is kind of the same way. You're going to work out the kinks. You have to work out your psychological and emotional kinks. One thing that I talk about on this podcast a lot is that in order to have good mental health, you have to have a good relationship with yourself. And in order to have a good relationship with yourself, you have to work through your pain. You have to face your pain and you have to work through it. And again, to drive this point home, right? In order to have good mental health, your fear is the path. Your pain is your task. The obstacle is the way. Resistance equals existence, right? Just meaning that this is just where you need to go. If you want to find happiness, if you want to like yourself, if you want to feel satisfied, content, and fulfilled in your life, this is just how you do it. Facing your pain is difficult. When you do hard things, you build this thing called virtue. Virtue gives you substance as a human being. It's kind of a different topic. But that's a little bit about people avoiding pain and why you should even do it in the first place. So one of the first steps to actually take this on and to face it, first would be to simply acknowledge that it's there, that it exists. And I've noticed with people is they're always giving themselves a whole bunch of shoulds. I should feel this way. I should feel that way. I shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't feel that way. I should be over it by now. Is this the right feeling? Is this the appropriate feeling? Blah, 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 all that stuff. So I think it's really healthy to adopt the general rule that the emotions are here. Okay. And many of them, most of them, in fact, exist for a good reason. I'm having them for good reasons. So rather than trying to dismiss them or talk yourself out of whether or not you're supposed to be having them or supposed to be feeling them, just acknowledge that it exists. Like this is an area that's hard for me. I notice that this is a very, very difficult pain for me to experience. Try to remember as well that pain is a messenger, right? Like if you break your leg, if you break the bone in your leg, it's gonna hurt. And your body is sending you these pain signals because it's like, hey, you got a problem and it needs attention, right? And you could take morphine and numb the pain and keep walking on that leg. That doesn't make the problem go away. But we do that with our emotional pain and our psychological pain. It's like, there's lots of stuff that I can do to avoid it or numb it. But that doesn't make the problem go away, right? Try to remember that if you're experiencing emotional pain or psychological pain, even spiritual pain, try to see it as a messenger. It's trying to tell you something like, hey, there's something here that you need to pay attention to. Okay, so you want to acknowledge that it's there. In so doing, you also want to abandon judgment. Stop judging it. Like, I'm not supposed to feel this way. Yes, you are. Stop it. Stop telling yourself that you're not supposed to feel the way that you're feeling. At the same time, though, you have to be careful about the stories that we attach to it. You also have to be mindful of the stories that you're attaching to it as well, right? So too many people are attaching false stories to their pain. I think that's an ego function. I think that's a function of the ego. Like, oh, I'm hurting because of that person. And I'm going to take it out on that person. I'm going to chew them out. Okay, if facing your pain leads you to blaming someone, I think you're missing the point. I don't think pain exists so that you can go and blame somebody else for your problems. Even if you have somebody in your life that is causing you a lot of drama or issues, you got to take some accountability because you're the one choosing to keep the relationship with that person. Take some accountability. Like if your marriage is going poorly, don't be like, oh, I'm in emotional pain and it's your fault. That is not the point of this. You're missing the point. You're the one who chooses to stay. You're the one who chooses to stay, okay? So accountability, there's also got to be a balance of accountability. Just frankly, there's too much blame kind of going around these days. It gets us nowhere. If anything, it pushes us backwards. It definitely pushes us backwards. But if you have an emotion that's there and you're like telling yourself, I'm not supposed to be feeling this way, I don't think that's useful. I think all emotions are there for a reason, though those reasons are different depending on the emotion. And part of being emotionally intelligent is where you understand what different emotions are and what types of signals or messages they're sending to you, what different emotions mean, right? Anxiety is going to be different from sadness, for example. In most cases, emotional pain exists because you're avoiding some kind of uncomfortable truth about yourself. My content is always high accountability, holding yourself to a high standard. You're the one who can change. You're the one who needs to change in order to fix your life, in order to fix your mental health. You're the one who needs to change. Nobody but you. So make sure that you let go of any messages of like, when other people change, I will feel better. No, that's false. That's false. Many people try that. It goes poorly. It doesn't work. It doesn't just quickly fix them. So a lot of times, pain is trying to tell you that there is an uncomfortable truth about yourself. So the real question to ask is, what uncomfortable truth about myself am I avoiding? Okay, so pain is there. Emotional pain is there to tell you that you need to look internally instead of externally. So again, if you're trying to follow your pain and it's like, well, this relationship is causing me a lot of pain, instead of being like, that jerk, I hate that person, be like, okay, bud, why do you choose to stay in this relationship with this person? Why do you continue to have contact with this person if this relationship really is a source of pain? Again, so you want to trace it back to higher levels of accountability. Because frankly, it's a million times easier to use your two legs and walk away rather than try and compel somebody or manipulate them into changing. Since we're looking for painful truth about ourselves, uncomfortable truths about ourselves, let's get straight to the point and rip the Band-Aid off. Let's get to what I believe are two of the main things, painful truths about ourselves that we generally avoid. Truth number one, we're going to start a little more surface and go a little deeper. Truth number one, I don't like myself. And that is a painful realization. That can be a painful realization and a painful thing to face. You sit down and you say, you might have to sit down and admit to yourself, I don't really like myself. Okay? And if I don't like myself, either A, I need to change some things about myself, or B, I need to change how I perceive myself, because we are our own worst enemies. We're way too harsh on ourselves. Sometimes you need to practice self-compassion. Sometimes you need to look on yourself like, you know what, I'm not so bad, and stop being your own worst critic. Sometimes you need to make some changes, okay? So understanding the difference requires a lot of wisdom. Painful truth number two. This one is what I believe is the universal core wound. The universal core wound is this, that we came to believe at some point in our lives that we were not lovable, and that we were only lovable when we were doing things for other people, or engaging in some kind of transaction, or that we had to earn love in some way, either by accomplishing or, like for dudes, it might be being successful in making money. For the ladies, it might be being attractive enough, right? Being pretty enough. Those things, by the way, are not the proper criteria of which you can and should learn to like yourself better. There are a lot of reasons to like yourself better, and there's nothing wrong with coming to like yourself better. I've done previous episodes, by the way, if you're new here, I have done previous episodes on, like, for example, there's two in my mind. Healthy selfishness, that's an important episode, okay? That's going to be a part of this puzzle, okay? So you may want to go back and find the episode on healthy or positive selfishness. Also, I believe 2 episodes back about getting what you want versus getting what you need. So if you want some additional information on liking yourself better, I think those are a couple of good episodes you may want to go check out. Okay, so if you explore those 2 truths, which generally generate a lot of pain, okay, you want to sit with it, okay? You want to just allow the experience to unfold, okay? What we're not doing is engaging in a lot of negative thinking towards ourselves. We're just simply sitting with the emotion, okay? Music can help with that. This is one of the reasons why I meditate. It makes it easier just to notice what I'm experiencing and just be able to kind of sit with it and be with it. One psychologist taught that David Hawkins, a really, really brilliant guy, by the way, if you haven't heard of Hawkins, he wrote a few books. They're really dense, but regardless, good stuff. David Hawkins would say that if you just sit with the emotion, stop resisting it, stop trying to get rid of it, just be with that emotion. Just allow it to hit you in full. It will disappear usually within 90 seconds, or at least it will reduce within 90 seconds. But it will definitely prolong if you resist it. And with all of this, I also recommend developing a self-compassionate approach. Treat yourself like you are your own best friend, or treat yourself like someone that you love dearly and deeply. Right? If there's someone that you love, but you know that they're really hard on themselves, and they have a really bad day, you're not going to be like, yeah, you really are a screw up, actually. Even though you can tell that they already hate themselves, and you're like, yeah, good job, stupid. Right? You wouldn't do that to someone that you love. So you got to treat yourself and talk to yourself like you are your own best friend. You need to talk to yourself and treat yourself like you're the most important person in your life, because you absolutely are the most important person in your life. When I say stuff like that, I know that I have to provide a little bit of a disclaimer, because there's so many people in the world right now that misinterpret things like that. Just because you're the most important person in your life doesn't mean you get to step on other people. Doesn't mean that you're justified in being entitled or selfish. Okay? Like, there are certain things that will make you a bad person. Okay? Like stepping on people just to get what you want. That, to me, that's sort of the definition of exploiting people to getting what you want. That's the definition of a bad person in my world. So it's there's so many people out there now. I've noticed that it's like their minds want to go there, where it's like, the therapist on the podcast said that I could use people up and discard them because I'm the most important person. Right? That's not at all what I'm getting at. Okay. Again, I feel like I have to provide these disclaimers because it's just how people are these days. There's so much emotional maturity, and we might even call it shades of narcissism. That's neither here nor there, and I'm not going to get into that. What I am going to get into, however, at this point is our shadow work journal prompts. Da, 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 da. I feel like maybe I could use AI to create a little jingle. Shadow work journal prompts. Get your writing journals out. Something like that. So, if you're new here, each episode, I like to include shadow work journal prompts. If you don't know what shadow work is, it's basically where we do a deep dive into our psyche to rewire ourselves, get to the source code to understand ourselves better so that we can make true and lasting change. The purpose of these is to help you know yourself better, understand yourself better, etc. I recommend that people get a separate journal, set it aside strictly for their own shadow work. And before I get into this episode's shadow work journal prompts, let me provide a little bit of a disclaimer. I'm a therapist. I'm not your therapist. Use your own discretion if you're going to do these. Sometimes it may be helpful to find a good therapist or a helpful therapist to help you through these. There's a lot of bad ones out there, and there's a lot of them that are going to be like, oh, don't face pain. Just take your pills, okay? Those are bad therapists. Stay away from them. So if you've had a lot of intense trauma and you have a lot of emotional instability, you may want to use your own discretion and do this with the help of a therapist. Okay, let's dive into these shadow work journal prompts. Obviously, these ones are intended to help you face your pain. My shadow work journal prompts are not for wimps, where you're really, really going for it. Okay, so number 1. In what ways do I judge myself, or what harsh judgments do I hold for myself? So these prompts are actually supposed to help you actually face your pain. I'm sure this one has made an appearance in a previous episode. It's going to appear again because this one's really important. Okay, but here, so number 2, let's see, how do we phrase this? What uncomfortable or painful truths am I afraid to learn about myself? Or alternatively, what am I afraid to discover about myself? Number 3, lightening it up just a bit. In what ways do I avoid my emotional pain or emotional discomfort? What means or tools or whatever drug of choice might I use to avoid feeling emotional pain? Number 4, what are those things doing to my life? What negative consequences might they be having? Right. So if you drink a lot to cover up emotional pain, what are the negative consequences of it? Number 5, how is my relationship with myself? That one can be loaded. You get to you gotta like write that out however you want, whatever feels right to you. You can maybe give it a letter grade, right? Maybe you can give it a healthiness level. 10 is super healthy. 1 is not healthy, is very very unhealthy or sick. How is my relationship with myself? And finally, what are the most difficult emotions that I suppress or avoid? Okay, it could be anxiety, it could be fear, it could be trauma, it could be shame, it could be a lot of them, okay? And for extra credit, write down the areas that cause the most pain or the most shame. And for extra credit, maybe find someone that you trust to share it with, or not, totally optional. But if you have someone that you're really close to and that you really trust, it can be really helpful. Whoops, I dropped my pen. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you for listening. Please help me increase my audience. Tell a friend. Make sure you subscribe and follow. Here's my website, saltcitycounseling.com. You can also follow me on X. I will be in the show notes or in the description. So thanks for being here. Remember, you must do hard things.